Today, NVIDIA, the powerhouse stock that we all know and love, officially joined the $1 trillion club for the first time. So NVIDIA is one of 9 stocks to do this, and it is just booming. Anything to do with artificial intelligence in the market right now is running up with more power than you can imagine. So in this video, we're going to talk about everything you need to know about the market right now, some great news for tomorrow, and some solid plays for the rest of the week. Towards the end of the video, we have a $2.25 million trade you won't want to miss. But Tom, let's get right into today's episode.
Yeah, the overall market was actually pretty lackluster today. You know, the SPY actually fell down a little bit, and we didn't really do too much. A lot of the bigger stocks in the market were looking pretty rough. I will say, like, the China stocks fell down quite a bit. MGM was down. MasterCard fell off. Unfortunately, the banks were actually really pulling us down, I'd say, in the grand scheme of things, because we had a great day out of these AI stocks, like you mentioned, Mike, like NVIDIA. This stock was really running up 2.99%. AI was flying up 33.42%. These AI stocks are really running right now, but there's a bunch of growth stocks in general that are flying up. AI, ChargePoint, SoFi, Palantir, Coinbase led my watch list. Every one of those stocks I named was up over 7%. AI was the big one, Mike, 33.42%. And this stock actually had some pretty good news today. Looking at them, they're actually working with Amazon's AWS marketplace, and they've been working with them for a while. Their CEO actually said that they enjoy a robust partnership with AWS. And I love that for AI, Mike. You know, for them to be working together is huge. AI is obviously a lot smaller than Amazon. So, of course, they're going to enjoy that robust partnership there. And hey, I enjoy it too, because AI stock keeps flying up. 33% is no joke. That is a huge move. But whenever you go out to a daily chart and you scroll out, it's still down a lot over the past couple of years. But I'll definitely take this recovery, Mike. I mean, this is getting parabolic now.
Oh, big time. Literally, Tom, nowadays, all a company has to do is mention artificial intelligence in their earnings report or honestly any other press release, and the next thing you know, their stock will pop by like 50%. It is insane, just the movement that we're seeing with any stock that has to do with artificial intelligence. NVIDIA, AI, Palantir, and a lot of other stocks are just ripping day after day after day, and it's just absolutely insane. And then, Tom, just like you were talking about, when you have news sprinkled in with, like, let's say ticker symbol AI with Amazon, AI is only like a $3 billion company, while Amazon is well over $1 trillion. You know, that just makes the rocket ship like turbo boosted.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, man, looking at AI's chart today, those boosters definitely kicked in. 33.42%. Look at this in after hours. It's still running up. It's about to hit $45 right now as the volatility is just continuing here. So I love to see it, Mike. It's great to see this stock running. And then, you know, I would say AI obviously has the name, right? The ticker symbol is AI, artificial intelligence. We all know what it is. NVIDIA, though, the big graphics card maker out there, is probably an even bigger AI stock than even AI itself. And man, they actually crossed $1 trillion today, like you mentioned in the intro. I thought that was awesome. They had to hold above 404.86, and they did that at open. So it was good to see they crossed $1 trillion. But Mike, you know, as I start to like look through some articles and I start to look at things a little bit more closely, it is pretty crazy. I saw you sent me this chart. This is crazy. So NVIDIA has a revenue right now of $25.88 billion. Look at the other stocks right now that are over that $1 trillion market cap. 200 billion on the revenue, with Microsoft is the lowest. The highest is Amazon up there, 524.9 billion. Man, NVIDIA is a lot lower. So it seems like it has a lot of hype right now. This stock is really trading off of, like I said, hype and mainly popularity in the AI sector, because, man, that is really far off with the revenues compared to those other companies.
No doubt. And what's pretty interesting is if we look towards like the top right part of the screen, we could see Charlie mentioned how 10 years ago, Nvidia only had a market cap of around $8 billion. And now it's in the trillion dollar club. So the growth that we've seen out of this stock is remarkable. And I'm very curious to see what this stock looks like, not only in a couple months from now, but a couple years from now, because I know a lot of people are looking at Nvidia right now and saying, you know what? It went up too much, too fast, and it's overvalued, while others are saying, you know what? Yeah, it might be up basically 300% from lows of 2022, but, they're in a booming industry and, they're one of the best powerhouse tech stocks in the entire market.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's to the point right now with me where like for the longer term, I'm not going to necessarily buy shares up here at the top, but I will say trading this volatility in the short term has been very, very fun on some of these AI stocks, and Nvidia has been an awesome one as well. Now, granted, the options are a little bit higher priced with Nvidia considering that huge move that it's had recently. I mean, some of those call premiums, Mike, have exploded so much. I can't believe it. And some of those percentages last week were insane. I mean, some of the guys in Discord were netting like 60 grand on some of the trades. So it was crazy. I could not believe what I was seeing there with those percentages, but I think that this one will start to slow down eventually over the next few weeks. But man, in the short term, they definitely keep running. But I'm really more attracted to some of those more lower priced AI stocks, like AI itself, even, which is just now starting to break out, whereas Nvidia is making new highs, which is still blowing my mind.
No doubt. So what's actually pretty exciting for this week is we actually have some big earnings with AI stocks. So I know our viewers are probably going to be like, how many times are you guys going to mention AI in this video? But, these stocks are booming. It's like we can't not mention them when you have them up 33%. And the stock that we've been talking about so much, ticker symbol AI, actually has earnings tomorrow after the bell. So that'll be very, very interesting, Tom. And I think it'll ultimately depend on how their management guides going forward. Nvidia had basically an absolutely insane outlook, and the stock popped higher than literally anyone was expecting. If C3 AI comes out with a great outlook, then, the stock can definitely boom up. But if the outlook's kind of mediocre, then I feel like a lot of people will be disappointed and the stock can take a pretty decent hit.
Yeah, and who knows, maybe some of this news with Amazon and their big partnerships will help with some of those outlooks too. I mean, I hope that it does, but that announcement today shouldn't necessarily affect the earnings from the last quarter, but maybe it will with the outlook. So I don't know. It'll definitely be an interesting one, Mike. In after hours, we're already above 45 now. I remember I was talking about it just a few minutes ago, but yeah, that's a big stock, and even CrowdStrike and Salesforce are pretty big stocks. I know that they're not necessarily what you would say 100% AI stocks, but like Salesforce, for example, they definitely deal with that a little bit with their business. And man, I would say CrowdStrike does too. So it's very interesting to see those stocks reporting as well. And those stocks have been really flying up in the short term too. So don't forget those two. I know some people were talking about their earnings earlier today as well.
Well, with that being said, Tom, let's get right into some setups for tomorrow. And I know some people are going to be very disappointed with me here, but I'm actually watching Ford for tomorrow and the rest of the week. While Ford is a very boring company and it doesn't have any of that fancy hype like some of these artificial intelligence stocks, Ford actually had some pretty solid news last week related to their charging stations and a deal with Tesla. And the stock has been moving to the upside in a pretty good way ever since that news came out. It's up around 4% so far today, but Ford is one of those stocks that you won't see up 33% in the day, but what you can see from it is like a nice, strong, and consistent trend in either direction. I am looking for an uptrend here as it is bouncing off of a multi-month support level. It's also pretty strong right now. It has good news as well. So I really like the risk reward setup with this one. And I will be watching it to the upside pretty closely in the short term. And honestly, even like the medium term, going a couple months out.
Yeah, I really like the medium term outlook on this. I mean, man, in the short term, it's had a lot of good momentum too. We flew up from that support down around 1125 all the way up to highs today, close to like 1280 on that news. So hopefully we get a nice continuation. I definitely think that there's possibility for this one to keep going. Now, at the same time, on like a intraday basis, it might fall down a little bit, maybe test support, then go up. I don't know, but I'll definitely be waiting for some breaks above those highs, Mike. That news with Tesla should be pretty good for them. And man, same setup with Palantir almost, which is going to be my first stock. I'm also thinking this one is a little bit high in the short term, but if it breaks the high of day around $15, which just ended up being a perfect hit there, right at that whole dollar mark, I'll watch for a big play to the upside. It could be good for calls. At the same time, though, if we do end up pulling back in the short term, if we fall under 1450, I think that it could be good for puts. So I'm really watching this one in both directions as we're getting a little overextended, but at the same time, there's such good momentum with these AI stocks that if it breaks that high of day, it could really go.
Boom. Another stock I'm watching pretty closely is Google, and it's not in the way you might think. It's actually to the downside. And while we're seeing some tech stocks do really good, like some of these growth stocks, some of these other tech stocks like Google and like even Meta are just a little bit already overbought, you can say, where it's like they already ran up too much and now they're like getting towards the end of their uptrend. So I will be watching Google to the downside for the rest of the week. It has some decent support right around $122 a share. If it breaks below that, I'll definitely be watching it for a retest, maybe around like 119 or so.
Yeah, I could really see that happening, Mike. I mean, on a daily chart, there's been a ton of consolidation up here with Google. It's been really failing to break out, and I could definitely see it falling down as well, especially whenever we go look at the other stocks like Microsoft too. I mean, man, that was really brutal here today. I will say though, mine's actually to the upside again with Enphase. I noticed they had a huge move today, back up 5.4%. I know we talked about this one a few months ago, but lately it's been really falling off to the downside. I really am happy with this one on the daily today. Had a big green candle back up. And if we keep up with this good momentum we had towards close, we might be able to break that 175, 176 resistance. So watch Enphase. It could end up being a pretty big mover as we start to move up to fill that gap on the daily.
There we go. Well, let's get right into the momentum plays for tomorrow. With the first one, we have Upstart to the upside.
UPST, huge move on the daily, really close to recent resistance. Go ahead and make them break out above $30 even. That's going to be a huge level there.
All right, with the next one, we have Coinbase, also to the upside.
COIN, yeah, had a pretty good day here. Intraday resistance right around 61.30, so go ahead and make them break right there.
All right, and with the last one, we have good old Meta to the downside.
Yeah, Meta, that was actually a pretty bad drop today. Like you mentioned earlier when you talked about Google, go ahead and make them break under 261.
All right, so we have that downside level on Meta. If it breaks below that, we're watching it for a play to the downside. And then we can't forget about Coinbase and Upstart, both of which are upside potential plays. If they break above those upside levels, we will look at them for calls, so keep them on watch. But it is now time for the big money $2.25 million trade of the day, and we are looking at ChargePoint. CHPT. So basically someone dumped $2.25 million into the ChargePoint $9.50 strike call options that expire on June 9th of 2023. I like this play because it is actually in the money and it has a short-term expiration. So it's a nice short-term trade. The stock is moving with some solid momentum. They have earnings this week and the stock is pretty oversold as well. So I kind of like the setup, and when someone dumps 2.25 mil into a play like this, you don't want to ignore it.
Yeah, you really don't. And I've noticed that ChargePoint having a big bounce on that lower support. I mean, man, that $8 area is key right there. We're getting such big bounces out of many stocks off support lately, not just ChargePoint. So I think that there's a lot of opportunity. There's a lot of buying coming into some of these growth stocks that are lower right now. And it's happening just as some of these stocks like Microsoft, for example, are finally starting to pull back a little bit. So I think it's fantastic. Definitely watch ChargePoint. This could be a great play to follow. Now, it is a short-term play, Mike, but I love it that those calls are in the money by a little bit. That really helps. And I think that over the next few days, if this one continues, that strike will be one of the more significant strikes that will rise. So I love it, Mike. I think that's a great play on ChargePoint. And over the next few days, man, we could see a lot of volatility with this one.
There we go. And for those of you who don't know, ChargePoint is an electric vehicle charging company. And as we've seen with Ford, with their deal with Tesla for the superchargers, when you have like one stock in a certain industry like Ford or like Rivian rising, that could help the whole electric vehicle slash charging industry as well. So that's just another thing to keep in mind.
Yeah, definitely. Those sympathy moves are a big thing in stocks. And yeah, it happens all the time, especially in that type of market. That we've seen it happen a lot with those EV stocks in the past. So I could definitely see that here with ChargePoint. And man, like you mentioned, it was just a pretty good day for all of those EV stocks. I know Rivian didn't do the best, but Tesla had a really good move today with that Ford news.
Yeah, love to see it. So Tom, before we close out, there's kind of like a big thing that we have to talk about in the market right now, and that is the debt ceiling. So there has been a bunch of fear in the market about, this debt ceiling, and over the weekend it looks like, we have like a tentative deal for the debt ceiling, but Tom, it's not all completely locked in yet, and it's not all sunshine and rainbows. So fill us in on the scary news.
Yeah, exactly. So I really feel like that this will end up getting passed eventually, but either way, it sounds like there's a lot of GOP opposition with this bill. A lot of people are accusing McCarthy of kind of bowing down to the Democrats, and it just doesn't really sound the best right now. There's a few Republicans that have actually came out and said that they won't vote for this, and it sounds pretty scary. Like it says here, a block of 20 conservatives rejected the compromise deal Tuesday. I mean, that's pretty rough. Now, he says it's mainly cosmetic policy tweaks and not the transformative changes that they were promised. So definitely sounds pretty bad, Mike. I mean, if this does not go through, this is going to be a bad thing for the economy and for the overall market in the short term, because it's going to take a lot of time to renegotiate a new bill. So I don't know. It's going to be a crazy next few days if this doesn't happen. But like I said, Mike, I think that we're pretty good with this, and hopefully something gets passed, because if not, even the people who are voting against it, their accounts are going to go down too. So, they're going to keep that in the back of their minds, I think.
Exactly. So it's like most likely everything will be all good and the debt ceiling will not be a problem, but there's still that small chance that shit can hit the fan and things can get pretty nasty. So just keep that in the back of your mind. For stocks to look at, if the bad does happen, you'll want to watch like UVXY or SPXS. Both of these stocks rise a lot when there's fear and just falling stock prices in the market. And they rise, pretty quickly too. So just keep them in the back of your mind because, there is that small risk.
Yeah, there really is. I mean, it's those stocks, Mike, are crucial to watch, especially whenever you have stocks so overextended right now, like Google, Microsoft, Apple. I mean, those daily charts are getting crazy. Don't even mention Nvidia. I mean, I don't even think we could mention this one anymore as far as being overextended. It's moved past that, Mike. I mean, it just went into superpower status with that $1 trillion valuation today. So yeah, it's going to be crazy if some of these stocks start pulling back as well.
I love that. You said superpower status. And, it's true. Because if we look at it from its low to its high from 2022 to where it is right now, I know you pulled it up earlier in the video, but what are we looking at percentage terms?
Yeah, so it's not exact here, but very, very close to like 286, 287%. So that is a huge move, almost 300%. I actually know some people, Mike, who are up quite a bit on this one right now. So it's huge. This stock has had quite the run, and it's crazy to say that such a big stock like them is up 287%. That's definitely part of what's fueling that $1 trillion valuation. And hey, I hope it keeps up, Mike. But as we've seen with Tesla and a lot of these other stocks that get really overextended, the pullbacks can start to become pretty nasty. So let's hope that it continues up a little bit more.
You know it. And guys, make sure to stay up to date on all the important news and what's moving in the market right now. And the best way to do that is to subscribe to our channel. So it's completely free. So make sure to subscribe. When you subscribe, you'll see our videos recommended to you more often. And while we're in the Stocked Up Discord, we want to give a giant special shout out to today's member of the day, John S.E. Mitch. He's been in the chat for almost 4 years now, and he had an absolutely amazing day. So huge shout out to John. Thanks for being an awesome member of the community, and great work today. Definitely make sure to keep it up.
Yeah, that's a huge day, John. So fantastic stuff. Love to see it there. Good job on Boeing as well. It was a good scalp. So love to see it, John. Keep it up. Man, that's a long time, Mike. 4 years. It's not every time that we have a member that's in here that's been in here for that long. So, man, you're one of the old members in here for sure. One of the OGs of the chat. That's a definite.
There we go. Well, thank you guys so much for watching today's video. We should have a pretty exciting day tomorrow. We saw a lot of big moves today from individual stocks like AI, Nvidia, Tesla, and stuff like that. But the market itself was a little bit contested. So be on the lookout for it tomorrow. And besides that, let's have an amazing rest of the week.